Hi everybody, hi every spirit. Today we are preparing for the full moon in Capricorn 2026. The moon is now 25 degrees Sagittarius, so we're almost getting into that full moon. The sun is at 7 degrees Cancer, so the full moon should be around 8 degrees, 9 degrees Capricorn, depending on when it goes to Capricorn. Thank you for watching. I'm Esoteric Cloud Surfer here. I talk about spirituality, astrology, tarot, and more things here. You can book readings and personal consultations with me using the Instagram, the Linktree, or the email in the description down below. You can support me a lot as well by just leaving a like and a comment, and let's get into it. So, if you're not really familiar with the concept of the full moon, before we talk about full moon in Capricorn, full moon in this, yada yada yada, what is full moon scenario? So full moon is when the moon is reflecting the full light of the sun. In astrology and spirituality, that means that our emotions, our reactions, and our responses are full as well. So you and others around you might be overreacting and over responding to things that usually wouldn't trigger such a degree of reaction. And you might be chilling, you might be vibing, but others around you, and even the world, governments, big corporations, and whatnot, they might be overreacting and over responding, and you need to be a bit careful to not trigger yourself and then overreact and over respond as well. So, knowing that it's almost a full moon or there is a full moon can help you just relax and can help you relax the world as well, because you know that they might be with a lot of emotions, a lot of ideas, a lot of stress, or just a lot of energy in general, because full moon also means everybody's energy levels might be through the roof. Now, some people might be really tired and even a bit depressed during full moon because they have no real place to use that energy, so the energy is just chaotic and leaving their field, thus they become less energetic. But that's for another video. Also, the full moon is when the seeds that you planted, the new cycles that you started in the new moon, reach their maximum potential spiritually, because I've done a video recently talking about the differences of the spiritual realm, the mental realm, the emotional realm, and the physical realm. And one of the key things is that what happens spiritually takes some time to then happen physically. It must first happen spiritually, then mentally, then emotionally, and then physically. So even though the seeds and the new cycle that we have planted and started on the new moon reach their peak spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, they might only appear on the next weeks, or even on the next month, or even in the opposing full moon. So in this case, it will be on full moon in Cancer in December, because there is an interesting correlation with opposing full moons, because physically speaking, 6 months is usually the time that big manifestations and materializations take to happen or to start happening. That's a good point as well, because full moon, by being the spiritual height of your new cycles and new seeds planted, usually means that emotionally, mentally, or physically, it's the start of that materialization. Because it's important to differentiate between manifestation and materialization. Manifestation is you spiritually or mentally creating, attracting, or becoming aware of something. Materialization is, well, the materialization of that event. And that doesn't mean that because you started manifesting or you completed the manifestation, that the materialization is already happening. Many times, one thing takes more time than the other. Specifically, materialization takes more time than manifestation. So now you know to expect more energy, more excitement, more sadness, just more things in general before, during, and after the full moon. And also, it means it's important for you to take a look at yourself, at your life, at your goals, at your emotional awareness, your emotional capabilities, your limits and boundaries, everything that is important to you on a personal level, and ask yourself, are you fulfilled? Are you not fulfilled? Are you working towards fulfillment? Because it's not about being fulfilled. It's not always about achieving something. What really matters is to be on the path. It's to be trying, to starting, to be on achieving something, because achievement will come even in other lifetimes, correct? But if you are on the path, you will always be at least somehow satisfied because you are in the path. And by walking the path, then you will achieve that destination. Because most people that have money or success or a lot of socialization, but they sad, it's because they're not walking their path. They're walking a common path, a misconceived path. And I'm not saying that getting money is wrong. That's not what we do here. But if that person achieved something, but they don't feel successful, they don't feel fulfilled, it's because they're walking on the wrong path. And full moon is a great way to reflect, to see your internal realm, to see your spiritual principles reflected in some external perspective. So you can see literally, and others can be an indication of that as well, if you are in your path of personal fulfillment. Spirituality is individuality, it's always about your own path. You are the center of your own universe. Always keep that in mind. But now that you know all that, what is specific about this full moon in Capricorn? First, it's in Capricorn, and then it's different. There was a full moon last year in Capricorn, there was a full moon 2 years ago in Capricorn as well, but things are different. First, we are different, the world is different, we are experiencing things in a different way. Then, the planets are aligned in a different way, you know? So let's get into that. What is specifically full moon in Capricorn for the year 2026? What is Capricorn? Cardinal Earth. That means initiating and creating new ways to be serious, to be solid, to be consistent, to care and actively go about routines, patterns, limits, boundaries, specifically for Capricorn, career, status, power and control issues as well, because Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So full moon in Capricorn can mean that you and others might be overreacting, over responding, stressing too much, or reaching some degree of success in creating new ways to have routine, pattern, success, structure, status, control, safety, or security. One thing very important to notice about full moon in Capricorn is how to measure success. Because Capricorn is usually all about power. I'm above you. You are lower than me. I have more money than you. I have more stability. I have more reach. I have more connections. But spiritually speaking, that doesn't mean anything. Spiritually speaking, those are consequences of your spiritual success, not the measurement, not what is spiritual success. And Cancer, the opposition of Capricorn, is usually spiritual success, privacy, fulfillment, love, family, knowing your spaces, knowing what spaces are good for you, knowing what spaces can help you create more and better, knowing what spaces and states of being can help you heal and grow, knowing what spaces can help you expand and create more. Keyword expand, because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and Jupiter is the planet of expansion, and expansion is one of the main goals, spiritually speaking. So, full moon in Capricorn can be a bit deceiving because you might feel frustrated because of money, your physical circumstances, your house, your financial situation, your job situation. You and others might be very stressed about job, about the limits and boundaries. You might enjoy your job, but the schedule is awful. People in your job are awful. Your boss is awful. Or everything is just fine, but you are irritated about your job. That's completely normal. Just know that is full moon in Capricorn, and those areas, networking, association, sharing limits and boundaries that are important to your safety, to your structure, to your finances and whatnot, all that will be with more emotions and feelings, being it good or being it bad. It's going to be more. But it can feel like there is nothing because you're feeling so much, or that area has so much energy that it starts collapsing. So you might feel apathic, or people around you might be apathic because it's so many emotions and feelings, they don't know how to handle it. So you kind of go numb because it's too much. It's just both ends of the spectrum of extremity, of extreme feeling and emotion here. And full moon also means extreme attraction. So you might be, or others around you might be attracting a lot of things in those areas of structure, networking, association, power, control, status, whatever. But you can use the sun in Cancer to balance yours and others' perspectives, to initiate new emotions and feelings, new places of comfort that you can see and show yourself and others. Because the sun is in Cancer right now, so everybody is seeing the world consciously or subconsciously through that lens. People are paying more attention to those things, feelings and emotions, desires, pleasure, family, proximity, things related to the heart. And the full moon in Capricorn is also bringing a balance on itself, but the sun in Cancer is not overreacting, the full moon is. So you can bring some balance through the lenses of Cancer, bring more spirituality, more faith, more belief. Try to explain physical things with things that are not physical. Use spirituality to explain physicality. Use spirituality to feel more free, to feel less contracted, to feel less dry, bored, or frustrated about job, money, financial situation, or things that you must do to achieve that financial situation or safety. Because a lot of people that they have a stable life, they have a stable job and whatnot, but they are not satisfied, or what they need to do in their routine to keep that safety, to keep that money, to keep that position makes them numb or dull or cold hearted, or they start to judge others as like peasants or lowly, and many times they start to forget about the spirit, forget about the heart. And if you are in that way or around people that are in that way, remind yourself you don't need to be that way. If you're watching this video, it's because you have more spiritual inclination than other people that just don't click this type of videos. And what I'm saying, so keep in mind to use and to be open to the energy of Cancer, cardinal water, ruled by the moon, Jupiter being exalted there, to prioritize feelings and emotions, expansion, wisdom, knowledge, freedom, movement, because we already have an accumulation of dryness, status, money, power, responsibility, routine, pattern, control, limits, boundaries. So it's all about creating some balance. But before the full moon in Capricorn, we right now have, and have been for the past 2.5 days, moon in Sagittarius, which is in conjuncting the sun, aka misunderstanding the sun in Cancer. A cool fact here is that Jupiter is exalted in Cancer and it rules Sagittarius. So even though it's an in conjunction, there is a common link, which is expansion, wisdom, knowledge, spirituality, faith, belief, and imaginations. The difference is where to apply. Cancer is more private, more close to you, more about your personal environment. Sagittarius is whatever it is, it's everywhere. Sagittarius usually are more gullible and more scattered because they try or want to reach many different spaces at the same time. They want to understand everybody, they want to be understood by everybody, they want to understand all faiths and all beliefs, while Cancer is like my faith, my belief, my personal testimonies, and how can I develop or improve my routines and patterns through that. But the point here is how are we going from moon in Sagittarius to moon in Capricorn, and what does that travel means, because that transition is important once we reach full moon in Capricorn. So right now, and in the past 2 days, it's important to focus on feeling free, feeling like you have something to believe in, feeling like you can express or be around people that have their own faiths and their own beliefs. Because Sagittarius sometimes make this confusion where they want to be around people that believe in the same things that they believe, or they're just too gullible that to be like, oh, everybody has their own belief system. So everybody has in the right or own believing whatever they want, which is all kind and nice, but it's just not truthful. Some things are facts and some things are true. What Sagittarius misses is like, it's okay that they have their own wisdom and knowledge, but it's not true, or I don't agree with it. And sometimes they try to force that amicable space where they end up being gullible and not having a back spine and not having backbone, you know what I'm saying? But the point here is to focus on that. enjoy spirituality, faith, belief, imagination, creativity, watch certain videos that you usually don't watch, maybe be a bit more open to things like tarot, spirituality. You might be having a lot of dreams that are trying to bring you some meaningful messages, because once the moon goes into the Capricorn, things will get a bit more serious, a bit more dry, a bit more about money and structure, not destruction, sorry, a bit too much focused about the world and whatnot. And the world was created by us as spirits, and that's the really important part, especially when the world is too focused on the world in itself. It's good to take a step back and come into the principle, to the values, to the imagination and spirituality behind what we have created. So with the moon in Sagittarius, it's important to allow yourselves to feel free, to reach our imagination, to reach our spirituality, and to be aware of ours and others' faiths, beliefs, personal testimonies, and ways to obtain expansion, wisdom, and knowledge. And focus on that, because that's true value. Because too many Capricorn energy will make you or others value themselves, yourself, and others mainly on money, your routine, your patterns, what you do for a living, what do you do? Your ego becomes, I'm a lawyer, I'm a teacher. No, you are a being that executes those functions and has those responsibilities as well. You are not that thing. You know what I'm saying? That's a very good example, because focusing on the wisdom and on the knowledge can open many doors for you to then achieve certain places of stability and financial literacy. But if you focus too much on judging others by how much money they have or how much money they make, you might forget that the true value is on the wisdom and the knowledge and the life that you live. Circling back a little bit to what I was saying earlier, many people that focus a lot in their jobs, in their careers, they stop living, they stop experiencing, they're not open to certain things that they should be open, because we are here in this realm to learn about ourselves, to learn about our spiritual powers of creativity, travel, expansion. And if you focus so much on the money, on the structure, on the job, you will not be focused on what's really important in this life, which is your spiritual powers. But balance is key. Don't be a hobo on the street saying Jesus coming back tomorrow. Keep things focused. Use spirituality for your structure, and use your structure to make sure that your spirituality is not going too far away. Now, let's see how the sky will be aligning with the full moon in Capricorn. We have Mercury in Cancer also opposing full moon in Capricorn, so that means that communication, thinking, and analyzing can be opposing or balancing the full moon. So, thoughts and ideas will be more about family, emotions, feelings, wisdom, and knowledge, and things that are closer to your heart, but the energy, the emotion of the world in general will be more towards status, career, business, and money. So the conversations might be opposing that or balancing, bringing fresh air, fresh emotion, and the sense of proximity and care that might be lacking otherwise. Then we have Venus in Leo, which will be in conjuncting, aka misunderstanding, full moon in Capricorn. So relationships, value, and how we are exchanging things, it's more about fixed, consistent, or stubborn creativity, spirituality, ego, pride, entertainment, and attention, while the full moon in itself will be more about money, structure, responsibility, limits, and boundaries. So it might be not as fun to relate and exchange things in the full moon period, but at the same time, the full moon can help everybody be a bit more focused, responsible, private, and personal in those exchanges, in that pleasure, in that relation, so you know what is valuable, what is not, what is real, what is not, where it's important to you, where it's lucrative, even on a spiritual, realistic, and personal way. Then we have Mars, going into Gemini 0 degrees, which will be in conjuncting as well, which will be in conjuncting the full moon in Capricorn as well. So passion, motivation, anger, and frustration is entering a space of more freedom, coldness, detachment, and logicality, and the full moon actually kind of likes that because Capricorn is Earth, so it's about being logical, being cold, being on point, being on time. But Gemini is more free and less caring, while Capricorn is more caring and more responsible, more focused in specific points. So the passion for communication might be a problem for the emotional focus on structure and responsibility, and the focus on caring about personal responsibility and accountability might be a problem for yours and others' passion, motivation, or aggressiveness about communicating or about what's being communicated in a more mutable, gullible, cold, and outreaching way. Then we have Jupiter in Cancer, almost going into Leo. It's in 29 degrees, finishing the journey of their exalted sign, but it's still opposing the full moon in Capricorn, which can bring a lot of balance or opposition. Jupiter in Cancer, it's extreme. Jupiter in Cancer is extreme, new feelings and emotions, and new personal perspectives and circumstances about wisdom, knowledge, and spirituality in general. And that can oppose the full moon in Capricorn because feelings and emotions, reactions, responses will be brought about money and structure, while we want to expand, or we are already expanding in a more spiritual, even religious kind of way, for an example. And it can bring balance because everybody might be feeling too nervous with too much pressure down on their shoulders, and Jupiter in Cancer can help you even expand on those areas without being too dry, without being too under the pressure. And then Full Moon in Capricorn can bring a point, can bring routine, pattern, and responsibility to spiritual wisdom and knowledge. After that, we have Saturn in Aries, which is squaring the full moon in Capricorn. So this can bring some tension, but it's in the end of the day a great learning lesson. So where is the tension coming from? Because both Capricorn and Aries are cardinal signs, but Aries is all about spiritual innovation, personality, being reckless, entering the space just to be the first to do it or just to learn, going head on into a space, while Capricorn is way more cautious. They like to read the plan before initiating something. It's like when you go to the bank and you want to do a loan and they want to know what business you're going to create, what are the margins for their business, how will they have the returns, you know. Aries is like the bank. If the bank didn't do that, they just give you the money, they even give you more money than you asked for just to see what happens, you know. That's where the clash comes from, you know. So Saturn in Aries, actually kind of weird because Saturn rules Capricorn and it's in a space where it doesn't really like, or we don't like Saturn in Aries, because Saturn doesn't give a fuck. It's just experiencing whatever it needs to experience, right? So the clash comes from spirituality, freedom, uniqueness, and individuality versus accountability, responsibility, and being cautious and very, very careful in what you say, what you do, when you do it, around wherever you do it, right? So full moon in Capricorn bring an extreme care about safety and security in a new and innovative way, while Saturn in Aries means that the world is going through a renovation. Spirituality, creativity, passion, and motivation, uniqueness, and individuality is the new building block, the new foundation of structure, organization, what people consider to be right, what people consider to be wrong. It's that organizations, big entities are starting to become or to use that as their building foundation. And you might feel limited or supported by your own or others' unique and new ways to be reckless, to be unique, to be individual, and to be spiritual. So Saturn in Aries and Full Moon in Capricorn is a learning lesson to feel more responsible, more under pressure when it comes to build something or be a part of something in your personal life that expands into the world, that deals more with creativity, spirituality, uniqueness, and individuality, but that still is responsible, still is profitable, and can be used by yourself and others as a supporting system, as a structure, as a routine and pattern that can bring financial freedom and spiritual freedom. But then that can be a lot of friction until the whole world finds that out. So in the areas of Saturn, business, networking, association, safety, security, structure, your job, your house, things that you feel a part of, they that or you in that area or that area into you can be creating a lot of new feelings and new emotions, new visions, new imaginations. And then full moon in Capricorn is feeling extra, is bringing extra care about safety, status. So your status or the status of whatever you're a part of, or how people look at your status, can punch you in the face because you might try to be, you might need to be more unique and more individual in areas of structure and responsibility, but you're still learning how to do that. You're still learning how to represent yourself in those areas. But you want to, or you need to, or others want, and they need to, or they're judging you by the lack of that development, by the lack of that status. So things like that can cause friction where you are developing, or you're part of something that is still developing its unique and spiritual structure, but you might feel the need to already be successful, to already have the money, and to already have the structure, or you just might be, and it might not even happen. It might be not even happening. You feeling others judging you for an example, or you judging yourself too harsh because you already want that success. You already want that new way to be safe, to have status, power, and control, but you're still developing or being a part of something that is developing its new and unique system and structure. Then you have Uranus in Gemini in conjuncting the full moon in Capricorn. So you and others might be overreacting in areas of business and structure to newness, innovation, and opposition that it's being communicated, or it's communicating about things, people, places that are more scattered, more gullible, more logical, more cold, and more detached. Then we have Neptune in Aries. So we are developing new awarenesses, new feelings, new emotions, new creativity, new personalities, new personal insecurities, and new personal interests, and just new awarenesses about the grand feelings, grand emotions, grand curses, or generational gifts. And we are learning how to handle the pressure, the judgment, and the status in a real and practical way about all those things. And then we have Pluto in Aquarius, fatal attracting the full moon in Capricorn. So the full moon in Capricorn might be bringing extra emotion, extra feeling, or extra things in general that are forcing us to initiate new ways to feel more realistic, more responsible, or feeling more pressure to become and be seen or to attract things that are more real, more profitable, and more safe, while everybody else and the whole world in itself is going through a moment of transformation to achieve a more unique, rebellious, opposing, but also logical, intelligent, stable, social, and humanitarian space. So full moon in Capricorn can make us feel more internal, more responsible, and can also make us realize new ways to be practical, but that take more responsibility, more action, and more sacrifice in order for us to be a part or to develop something that can become or already is unique, social, rebellious, structured, personal, and communal at the same time. And that's everything for today. Full Moon in Capricorn 2026. Thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe. Book readings and consultations using the link tree, the Instagram, or the email down below. I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and a whole bunch of individuality, creativity, and responsibility as well. Keep it cool, keep it healthy.